Okay, good afternoon. We'll commence the 2 November Finance Committee meeting. Do we have any public or committee comments? Dive into the fraud risk discussion.
And we have nothing to report.
Okay. How about the third quarter investment reports?
All right, so the third quarter, which is through the end of September 2021, is in your packet here. The district has $12.8 million in unrestricted funds and $7.6 million in restricted, for a total of $20,449,000. You can see how those restricted and unrestricted funds are kind of broken out. We have some reserves. That's in the table below, but we have reserves as well as some restricted categories down below. Overall, just outside of all the reserves, the money we have set aside for emergencies, we have an unrestricted or uncommitted balance of $3.2 million.
How's that compared to previous years? Is that about normal?
That's about where we are, yeah, usually on the unrestricted, uncommitted.
Comments, questions?
Yeah, I don't know why it's never struck me before, but you've got two lines that on like non-spendable for you know, for clear reasons. But why are they in the unrestricted rather than the restricted column?
Restricted is based on where the money comes from, and that they have to be used for specific purposes, because these are pretty much just prepayments. They're not going to be restricted in use once they have been like a meter set in the ground. Then that money becomes available for the district to use.
But we can't use them now, is what I'm thinking. Well, you know, even when you talked about it, you talked about unrestricted and restricted, and so
It's on.
it's
on.
yeah, it's
Might want to use the one next to it.
not working. Uh-oh. Sorry about that. Yeah, that does sound better. It just seemed, I guess it's just a function of what you want the column to, you know, designate. And in my mind, the district designated really is unrestricted. It's money that we could spend if we needed to spend it right now, because these are really all district designated, like it says. And so it almost makes more sense to be in the restricted column. But I understand what you're saying. I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, financial statements, October.
Okay, through October 2021. We have revenue actuals of just over $6 million, which is $428,000 more than our budget of 5.6. On the other side, on expenditures, we have expenditures of 5.9 million, which is $428,000 more than the budget of expenditures. But the net, so we have a net of 118,000, which is just about the same as the net of the budget. So we're right where we need to be, I guess.
Need to dull your pencil a little bit.
Well, and you can see that the increase, for the most part on expenditures, is the GA, which is offset by some of the increases in the revenue side.
It seems to me a lot of times this time of the year we're actually below budget. we've actually got we've got a negative net revenue.
At this time of the year, typically, yeah, so we're doing better than,
So we're doing well.
yeah,
It's not like we're not.
but we're tracking right along with budget if you look at the net.
Set the bar at $800, it's gonna be hard to live up to the rest of the year.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And other than the GSA, it's sort of a wash. There's nothing exceptional to discuss.
Yeah, no, it's the GA. Which we've always counted on it as being it's a pass-through. You can see there is a little bit of a discrepancy between what we bring in the GA as opposed to what goes out, and that's just timing with our billing cycles versus the payments to the GA.
Okay. Delinquent accounts report?
Okay, so through our October number of accounts that would be subject to lock-off, if not for the moratorium, has decreased down to 258 from 360. But you see the decrease in past due amounts is not as comparable. It went down about, just over $1,000. We are working on the arrearage numbers. Those weren't complete yet. We'll have them for the board meeting. We're probably about 2/3 of the way done. And right now we have $118,000 in past due amounts that that apply within that time frame, but would have to write off $50,000 in late fees for a net of 68,000. Of course, we're not done yet. We're about 2/3 through, but for what it's worth, that's what we're looking at. Maybe about a 60% recovery.
I've forgotten, I think you've mentioned before, but I think I can't recall the size of some of these individual.
Some of them are thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's some that, probably 500 to 1,000, but we've got some pretty big ones in there.
Okay, so it's like multiple months worth of,
Yeah, this is, a lot of these are going back to the beginning of the pandemic, the first part of March when we were, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah. Well, we weren't allowed to lock off anymore for the moratorium was
I
put in
think the
place.
governor's order took effect in April, if I'm not mistaken.
And it was for all balances from
Yeah.
March 4th
Yeah.
forward.
okay.
Are these all residential?
There are a few commercial, but probably more than 95% is residential. I think maybe we had a half a dozen that are commercial. Maybe more, dozen.
And does the governor's order protect commercial interests as well?
I don't think it
Yeah, I
does.
think it does, yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Accounts payable disbursements?
So we have the two sets for the two different accounts payable runs. Just some of the big numbers. The first one, of course, we have the groundwater authority payment of $506,000. The next page, we have Aqua and Aqua JPIA, one being our dues for $21,260, and then the insurance payment for the month at $79,000. Ferguson Waterworks for 30,000. That's for some more of the meter bases that we're using for the 3/4 inch replacement. We have engineering with Krager and Stewart for just under 50,000. We have a couple attorney bills in here, McMurtry, Hartsock and Worth for 36,000 and Murphy and Everett's for 60. OnStat has been doing some of the patching for our repair work, and that came in at 49,000. Then Santa Fe Windwater Works, 27,756, and that's our maintenance supplies every month, every pay run. The second set, let's see. We have more on-stock construction on here, 40,000. That's for some more street repairs. And then Santa Fe Windwater Works for 21,000.
What's the corn main?
It's basically the same thing as Santa Fe Windwater. It's just another place to get parts.
I guess there's another Ferguson in there as well for 15,000 for meter supplies.
But there's nothing there that is different or out of line that you're aware of?
Nope,
Because they all look normal to me.
as the routine business ones, yep.
Mm-hmm, yeah, right. That's what I mean.
What's the OnStat again?
That's the patching, asphalt patching.
And that's the permanent going back and going over ours temporary?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's removal of the temporary and going in with a permanent repair.
Yeah.
Installing holes and filling holes.
You want to ask for public comment on that? Because I'm prepared to,
Yeah, is there any public comment?
Is there any public?
Is there any public? Yeah. Nope.
okay, in that case, I move that we recommend to the board that we accept the report.
Yep, I'll second. That moves us to future agenda items.
Not here?
Seeing none? All right, any final comments before we close the ship?
Good.
Okay,
None here?
done at 3 or 12 minutes after 3. Or 3:12.